Yisrael, Amrim Shema Yisrael.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, currently marking its year of dedication. Our dramatic program today, The Rabbi with the Ink-Stained Hands, written by Mark Siegel, is the fifth in a series of 13 programs on American Jewish regional history, presented in observance of the 20th year of the Eternal Light.
Otto!
What is it, Rabbi? What's the trouble?
Otto, this printing press. Listen to it. Like an old gate, it creaks.
I'll admit it's a little noisy, Rabbi, but it does the job.
Yeah, it does the job. But I tell you, Otto...
What, Rabbi?
I tell you, this printing press, it is much noisier than the last one. When they destroy this press, Otto, we get a nice, new, quiet printing press, yeah?
We never did get a new printing press. And that one, the last press on which we printed Sinai, the newspaper of our congregation, was the most stubborn machine I ever worked on. It creaked and groaned and screamed. Yet out of all that noise, there came words which sang with beauty and conviction. The noise of our printing press was the sound of the birth of freedom. There were some who used to think the Rabbi was like our printing press, just plain stubborn. Rabbi David Einhorn, they'd say, he's the most stubborn man in Baltimore. And perhaps they were right. He was, as stubborn and courageous and single-minded as an Old Testament prophet. I know. I was his printer from the day we published the first issue of Sinai. That was in 1855, 6 years ago. And from the beginning, there were some people who questioned his right to be stubborn.
Rabbi, it's very difficult to talk.
Wait, I stopped the machine. Now, what was it you say, Mr. Schoenberg?
I was saying, Rabbi Einhorn, that it's impossible to talk over the clatter of that machine.
Also, if we go into my office then, huh? Otto.
Yes, Rabbi Einhorn.
Otto, you go on printing. Yeah, I take Mr. Schoenberg into my office.
Right, Rabbi.
You follow me, Mr. Schoenberg, yeah?
Yes.
And be careful of your clothes, I think. It's a little dusty in this cellar.
Dusty? Dust doesn't form in layers 2 inch thick, Rabbi.
Oh, a little dirty then. Go in, please.
Yes.
Here, I clean a chair for you. Sit down, Mr. Schoenberg.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Now, you were saying, Mr. Schoenberg.
I was saying, Rabbi, that some of the members of the synagogue have asked me to talk to you.
They are afraid to talk to me themselves?
No, not at all, Rabbi, but it seemed simpler this way.
Simpler, Mr. Schoenberg? It is so important, then...
No, Rabbi. It's just that,
Please, Mr. Schoenberg, you say it, yeah?
Well, I'll try, Rabbi. It's just that a good many of us in the congregation feel that working in a dirty cellar doesn't befit the dignity of the rabbi of the Har Sinai Synagogue.
The dignity? That I print a newspaper?
Well, this manual labor, Rabbi, it's just not suitable to your position.
Mr. Schoenberg, creative labor, no matter how humble, is always fitting. To labor with one's hands, that is even a form of worship.
Perhaps our concept of the rabbinate is not in complete agreement with yours, Rabbi.
No, Mr. Schoenberg?
No, Rabbi Einhorn. I didn't wish to put it this directly, Rabbi, but Our congregation does not enjoy having a rabbi with ink-stained hands.
Oh, yeah, I see. Mr. Schoenberg, you have been direct with me. I will be direct with you, yeah?
Good, Rabbi. I'm listening.
I will ask you a question. Is it the printer's ink on my hands you object to? Or is it what I write with that ink that you do not like?
Perhaps you will understand better if you know just one sentence from one of Rabbi Einhorn's editorials in Sinai. I remember thinking, as I got ready to set the type, that it was a sentence which might not be received too kindly in Baltimore in that year of 1855.
All right, Otto. This is the last sentence. You are ready?
Yes, Rabbi. Go right ahead.
Is it anything else? Is it anything else, then, but a deed of rebellion against God to enslave human beings created in His image and to degrade them to a state of beasts, having no will of their own?
It was soon after we printed that editorial that Mr. Schoenberg visited us. And it was soon after Mr. Schoenberg's visit that the rabbi was called to a meeting of the board of directors of the synagogue.
Rabbi, this is a serious matter.
Yeah, that I can see, Mr. Lowenthal. The meetings of the board, they are not often so well attended.
All right, gentlemen, please. Rabbi, I hope you will understand. We respect your scholarship. We respect your leadership.
But, as Mr. Schoenberg says, you don't like the ink on my hands.
Exactly. Mr. Schoenberg, in fact, has proposed that you discontinue publication of your newspaper.
Because he thinks it is not dignified for a rabbi to be a printer. Huh?
We knew you would understand, Rabbi.
Yeah, Mr. Schoenberg, I understand. Gentlemen, I ask you a question, all of you. Why did you bring me here from Austria?
Because of your reputation, of course, Rabbi. As a scholar, as a great speaker, as a teacher.
Yeah, good. But why did I come? You can answer that?
Not as well as you can, I'm sure.
I came because I thought there in America, there is freedom. I thought there no government will close down a synagogue. There a man may pray as he will, believe as he will.
Mr. Chairman, this is hardly relevant to our discussion.
Please, Mr. Schoenberg, let the rabbi continue.
Thank you. Then I come here to America. I find there is freedom, blessed freedom, yes. But I find there is slavery, too. How can I be silent? I am the same man I was in Austria.
Rabbi, you missed the point. This is not Austria. This is Maryland.
Do you suppose the Almighty recognizes the state boundaries, Mr. Schoenberg?
Rabbi, if I understand what Mr. Schoenberg is saying...
What do you think he is saying, Mr. Lowenthal?
He is saying that there are matters of custom.
Does custom justify an evil?
Rabbi, slavery is as old as Maryland.
It is even older, but that is no reason for accepting it.
I don't think you understand, Rabbi. We don't support slavery.
Please, Mr. Chairman, please. You think I don't understand, but I do. I understand. The pro-slavery forces in Maryland, they are very strong, yeah? Very powerful.
Exactly, Rabbi.
And you, Mr. Schoenberg, perhaps you don't support slavery, but you don't want to antagonize your neighbors.
I'm glad to see you're taking a practical view of the matter at last, Rabbi.
Yeah, I take a practical view, I take a moral view, and a practical view. You know my moral view already.
Yes, I would say we do, Rabbi.
Now I tell you, I will be bound by what you decide. But before you vote on whether you want a rabbi with ink-stained hands, I tell you my practical view.
We're listening.
I tell you something I have learned in Austria, in Germany too. While one minority is oppressed...
Rabbi, what are you getting at?
While one man is oppressed, no other man is free.
That is dangerous talking.
No.
Very, very dangerous.
I go further, gentlemen. While any minority is in slavery, Not even the majority is free. Please, you will let me know how you vote?
They voted to let him continue the publication of Sinai. And in its pages he spoke out strongly for freedom, for brotherhood, for an end to enslavement of one man by another. And while we worked together on the old press in the dusty cellar, the years passed and the crisis deepened.
So, Otto, there it is. A good job.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Volume 4, number 1. Volume 4. I tell you, Otto, when we started, I never thought we would be printing Sinai for 4 years. 4 years.
A lot's happened in those 4 years, Rabbi.
That is true. Perhaps more will happen in the next few days.
What do you mean, Rabbi?
Otto, did you read the editorial in this issue?
Of course I read it. I set the type.
I don't think some people will like this editorial, huh?
Well, it won't be the first time, Rabbi.
That is true. But I'm afraid they won't like this one particularly. It favors Mr. Lincoln. They are not very fond of Mr. Lincoln in Baltimore.
Rabbi Einhorn?
Yes, that is my name.
Rabbi, I've come here as a friend.
Good. I don't believe I've had the pleasure of meeting you before.
That's true. Perhaps it's better that you don't know my name.
I don't understand. But if you tell me that it is better, I won't ask it.
Rabbi, I'll be brief. I don't agree with your abolitionist sentiments.
I see. Well, you have the right.
But I don't want to see any violence done.
You are warning me?
Precisely.
I'm rather used to such warnings.
I've come here for your own good, Rabbi. There's a lot of talk about you around Baltimore.
And what do they say, sir?
Well, they say you're dangerous.
I? I am dangerous?
Yeah, some folks who are tired of what you've been printing in your paper, Rabbi.
Do they say what I print is untruthful?
Well, they don't bother. But you'd be wise to stop writing what you've been writing.
That's what they say, your friends?
Well, they don't say it quite that gently, Rabbi, but that's what they say.
I see. What else do they say, my friend?
A great many other things, Rabbi. I'd rather not repeat them.
Such as?
You really want to know?
Oh, it might prove educational.
Glad to oblige. What they say mostly, Rabbi, is, why don't you go back where you come from?
There you have it, Rabbi. I've had a visitor. Mr. Schoenberger's had a visitor. Every member of the board has had a visitor.
Was he a soft-spoken gentleman, Mr. Lowenthal?
Yes, he was, Rabbi.
White, polite,
In his language.
but not in his sentiments.
Exactly.
Rabbi Einhorn,
Yes, Mr. Schoenberg.
I don't think it matters very much who the man was who visited us. We're here to discuss the newspaper, Rabbi.
I think Mr. Schoenberg's right, Rabbi.
You would desert your principles because they are attacked? I don't understand, gentlemen.
Rabbi, we have all been warned. 4 years ago, when you first came to us, you taught us that custom doesn't justify evil, and we accepted that, Rabbi.
But
the times have changed in these years.
That's just what I've been trying to say, Rabbi. It's a question of safety, not a question of right and wrong.
Mr. Schoenberg, the greatest safety man has is to be in the right.
Rabbi Einhorn, don't you have any concern for the well-being of this congregation?
It isn't enough to be concerned only with the well-being of our own congregation, Mr. Schoenberg. There is a larger congregation.
I don't understand, Rabbi.
The congregation of all mankind, Mr. Lowenthal.
That's a big responsibility for one rabbi.
We bear the responsibility jointly, Mr. Schoenberg.
Rabbi Einhorn, you are right, of course. You're always right. But will you answer me just one question?
Ask it, Mr. Schoenberg.
All right. I'll ask it. Why are you so stubborn?
Do you mind if I answer your question with another question, Mr. Schoenberg?
No, I guess not, Rabbi.
If Moses had been less stubborn, do you think you and I would be here discussing other people's slavery?
It would be easy to say that all the leaders of the congregation agreed with Rabbi Einhorn, but they did not. Some considered him foolhardy, some considered him heroic. But all, even those who opposed the publication of our newspaper, had come to respect his integrity and the force of his conviction.
Yes, come in, please.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Ah, Mr. Schoenberg, I'm glad you could come.
You expected me?
I hoped you would come after yesterday's meeting. If you hadn't, I would have visited you. I wanted to apologize.
But, Rabbi, that's why I've come here. To apologize.
No. It was I who spoke harshly. If you have forgiven me, I'm grateful. But I take it you still think we should not publish Sinai, huh?
Oh, yes, for many reasons.
Mr. Schoenberg, in all good spirit, I must ask you, where would you draw the line?
What line, Rabbi?
The line of our responsibility to others.
Now, Rabbi, I've already said, time and again, I am not a supporter of slavery.
That is no longer the whole issue, Mr. Schoenberg, as you know.
Then what is, Rabbi?
The whole issue? The sanctity and freedom and uniqueness of man.
That is a big jump, Rabbi.
It goes by little steps, Mr. Schoenberg. A small compromise leads to a bigger one.
Rabbi, you're an idealist. To go on publishing a newspaper is simply dangerous.
Perhaps it is more dangerous not to.
I don't think you understand the lengths to which these pro-slavery men will go.
I think I estimate the possibilities correctly, Mr. Schoenberg.
And you are willing to take that chance?
I do not think there is a choice.
Rabbi, I don't know if you're a wise man, but you are certainly a selfless one.
A selfless one, Mr. Schoenberg? No, not at all. I am very much concerned with myself.
You are? It's a new way, then.
No, not new. Very old, Mr. Schoenberg. Do you know the words of Rabbi Hillel?
No, which words, Rabbi?
A few words for all time, Mr. Schoenberg. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? And if I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?
If not now, when? They were words which took on a different meaning for me. For if there were members of the congregation like Mr. Schoenberg, who came slowly to see Rabbi Einhorn's point of view, there were others like me who wondered as the months went on whether there would ever be an end to slavery.
Otto, what is troubling you? All the time lately, there are mistakes in the typeset.
I don't know, Rabbi.
Are you worried? Is that it?
Worried? Yes, Rabbi. Maybe that's it.
About what, Otto?
Well, we don't seem to be getting anywhere, Rabbi.
Move slowly, Otto. A struggle for the right always moves slowly.
But why, Rabbi? Why must it go so slowly?
It goes faster than you think. You will see, Otto.
What, Rabbi?
It goes slowly at first, but then suddenly it goes fast. Perhaps too fast for comfort.
Rabbi, are you all right?
Yes, Otto.
You're not hurt?
A little scratch, nothing. What was it?
A brick. They threw a brick through the window.
Ah, that was very careless of someone.
Oh, Rabbi, how can you joke about it? You could have been hurt badly.
I can joke because I was not hurt, Otto.
Look, there's a note tied to it.
What does it say, Otto?
It says, remember Elijah Lovejoy. What does that mean? Who was Elijah Lovejoy?
Ah, Otto, you should read more history. He was a minister, Presbyterian minister in Illinois. He believed in freedom, Otto, and published a paper as we do to say so. And one night, a mob circled with torches and guns around the warehouse where he had the printing press, and they set the warehouse on fire.
What happened to him, Rabbi?
They shot him, Otto. They killed him. Come, now, let us get on with the printing.
We went on printing Sinai after that, every month until last week. It has happened the way the rabbi said it would. First slowly, then fast. Faster than we could imagine. Mr. Lincoln became president and had to steal through Baltimore at night on the way to Washington because they had planned to kill him. The slavery men got bolder and bolder. And then last week, I was working at the press when Mr. Lowenthal came running into our shop.
Otto, where is the rabbi?
Mr. Lowenthal, what is...
Rabbi, quickly, you must get home at once.
What's wrong, Mr. Lowenthal? My wife, is she all right?
She's all right. The children, too, but the news. Have you heard the news?
What news?
They have fired on Fort Sumter. It's begun.
It should not have come to this. Not to war.
Rabbi, you don't understand. There are mobs in the streets, secessionist mobs.
Well, the militia will bring them under control, Mr. Lowenthal.
That's why I've come, Rabbi. The military commander of the district came to the synagogue.
The military commander? But why?
He had a list with him, Rabbi, a list drawn up by the secessionists.
What kind of a list, Mr. Lowenthal?
A list of anti-slavery men that they have sworn to kill. Rabbi, please go home at once. Your name is on that list.
We took the rabbi home, and we had hardly shut the door when someone was pounding on it.
Who is there?
Let me in, Rabbi. It's Schoenberg.
Let him in.
Rabbi, I brought a carriage around to the back of your house. You better hurry while there's still time.
Do you think I will go now, Mr. Schoenberg? I've told you how I feel.
Rabbi, please, it's a matter of your life.
A man's life is meaningless if he deserts his principles.
Rabbi, don't you understand? There's a mob outside that door. My own son is guarding that door with a gun in his hand.
Your son?
My son and Mr. Lowenthal's son and the sons of the other members of the congregation.
Mr. Schoenberg, I thank you, but I do not think I should go.
It's not just that you're threatened. It's your wife.
My wife?
Yes,
too.
and your children.
Mr. Schoenberg, you seem more concerned about my safety than your own. You seem more worried about my children than yours.
It's something I learned from a very stubborn man, Rabbi. Please, will you go?
Yes, I will. God bless you, Mr. Schoenberg. God bless you and keep you. Let us go to the captain.
I took the rabbi and his family to the waiting carriage. My eyes were wet with tears as I shut the carriage door.
Goodbye, Otto. It will not be forever. Do not be sad, my son.
We are defeated, Rabbi.
No, Otto. It is no defeat. There's no defeat while men struggle for justice and freedom.
Will we ever win, Rabbi? Will there be an end to slavery?
There will be an end to it, Otto, with God's help, if we make an end to it.
It is only a week that Rabbi Einhorn is gone, but to me and to all those who worked with him, it seems an eternity. Yet I hear his words always, and perhaps others in times still to come will heed him too.
Slavery will go, yet other evils will take its place. Still, there is hope for man who is created in God's image. There is hope and a responsibility, for each man has been granted the power to choose between good and evil. There is hope, for it is not thy duty to complete the work, but neither art thou free to desist from it.
If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 10 cents to cover the cost of postage and handling to the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. And now we take great pleasure in presenting Rabbi Theodore Friedman, President of the Rabbinical Assembly and spiritual leader of Congregation Bethel of the Oranges in Maplewood, New Jersey. Rabbi Friedman.
The story of the stubborn courage of Rabbi David Einhorn of Baltimore 100 years ago comes to us now with telling timeliness in this centennial year of the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation. For alas, the blotchy, persistent shadows of the monstrous evil against which he spoke and wrote so forthrightly a century ago still mar the American landscape. If he were with us now, we may be certain that his prophetic voice and his moral courage would be engaged in today's great surge towards full equality, freedom, and human dignity for all the people of America, regardless of color. But he would not be alone. He would find colleagues, fellow rabbis, throughout the length and breadth of this land, who even now are lending their voice, their heart, and their presence to the end that America fulfill itself by fulfilling its promise of the inalienable rights of all men to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Rabbi Einhorn's present-day successors to the office of rabbi, teacher, and preacher stand in the very same tradition that moved him to fearlessly challenge the oppression and the indignity of slavery. That tradition goes all the way back to the story of the Exodus, Israel's deliverance from bondage, a story the Jewish people, ancient and modern, could not and would not forget. Indeed, it is a tradition that goes all the way back to the book of Genesis and its imperishable word, in the image of God created he man. That tradition fairly glows in the unforgettable utterances of the ancient Hebrew prophets, even as it is reflected in the enactments of the Talmud. The imperatives of human equality and dignity of the tradition command us to raise our voice today in behalf of those to whom they are denied. In recalling Rabbi Einhorn and his undaunted stand for human freedom, we, rabbis and laymen alike, are recalled to go forth and help finish the work he had helped begin so nobly a century ago.
Thank you, Rabbi Friedman. Our Eternal Light drama today, The Rabbi with the Ink-Stained Hands, was written by Mark Siegel. Today's program was the fifth in a series of 13 programs on American Jewish regional history, marking the 20th year of the Eternal Light program series. Cantor Robert H. Siegel signed the liturgical introduction. Featured were Guy Repp as Rabbi Einhorn and Jim Stevens as the narrator Otto. Others in the cast were Ivor Francis, Mandel Kramer, and Joe DeSantis. We invite you to join us next week when the Eternal Light program presents The Builder, a drama by David Davidson. This is Bill Hanrahan. Our program was directed by Kenneth McGregor. Portions of this program were pre-recorded. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, currently marking its year of dedication. This is the NBC Radio Network.